Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, a second by Supervisor Khan. Is there any further discussion? All those respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next item up will be the authorization of depositories for our township funds in fiscal 2025. We get First National Bank.
I'll make a motion to stick with Pliget and First National Bank as the depositories for township funds in fiscal year 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Newman, a second by Supervisor Khan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
The next, Mayor, is the established regular monthly meeting dates for 2025 as the second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m., beginning in February.
Any issues with that? We're gonna continue as is. Let's have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have our, regular monthly meetings on the second Wednesday of each month for the year 2025.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Khan, a second by Supervisor Newman.
I'd like to include in that, when I advertise that, I will include the reorganization meeting for 2026 in that advertisement for the time.
I'll amend my motion to include that.
Okay, all right, we have a motion as amended. Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it. I'll still
And a
still
second.
got you, Al.
Okay, again, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next item up would be the appointment to boards and commissions.
Fortunately, Mayor, each of those current appointees have asked to be reappointed. I have that list before you. I would ask for those reappointments, please.
I would make a motion to appoint the folks listed A through F under number 7 to the boards listed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Khan, a second by Supervisor Jorgensen. Any further discussion?
You want me to cover who those are?
Aren't they right there?
Yes,
Yeah, some right there.
that's good.
Oh, for sure, go right ahead.
It's the reappointment for Robert Newland for Vacancy Board, and the reappointment of Peter Bloom to the Planning Commission, and the reappointment of John Carson to the Shade Tree / Parks and Recreation Board, and the reappointment of Tom Saponis to the Zoning Hearing Board, and the reappointment of Colin Higgins to the Deer Creek Drainage Basin Board.
Okay, thank you, Dan. We have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
And all we have for the minutes, Mayor, is the public hearing from December. We do not have the regular meetings yet. They will be on your February meeting.
Okay, all right. We need action on that then, or
The
no?
public hearing, yes.
Public hearing, okay.
I'll move that we approve the minutes of the December 11th, 2024 public hearing.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Khan, a second by Supervisor Jorgensen. Is there any further discussion on those meeting minutes? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. We have development proposals, and we got the bills.
Correct.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, John.
I got it. Okay, we have a motion to pay the bills from Supervisor Jorgensen, a second from Supervisor Newman. Is there any discussion on those bills? We have a question?
Are you here for a double proposal?
I'm here for Fred
Okay.
Sorry. That's okay. That's all right, Chris. Okay, all right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. No correspondence, Dan?
No, Mayor.
All right, so we'll move on to new business.
The first item is the fee schedule for the year. Traditionally, we do the first resolution of the year is updating our fee schedule. I summarized those increases on the back, the changes that you'll see in that schedule. So that's for your approval, Resolution 2025-01.
I will move that we approve resolution number 2025-01, setting the fee schedule for the Township of Indiana.
We have a second?
Sure.
Second. Okay. Supervisor Khan made the motion, Supervisor Newman on the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next item?
Next item, Mayor, is the possible approval for a recreation center at Emily Community Park. You have a summary from Holly Sammartino, the Community Services Coordinator. There was a resident, Luke Raymond, who contacted the parks regarding a local basketball league that he's involved with. He's here this evening if you'd like to talk about the proposal, if anybody has any questions. And then as you may or may not be aware, part of the long-range comprehensive plan is for the Emily House site to be able to have a recreation facility. And the Parks and Rec Board has not had any reservations following through with this project and making it a reality. Specifically, John Carson and Patsy Thompson both expressed their support and excitement for the project and that it will add to the park. Mr. Raymond and Ms. Sammartino had a very detailed conversation regarding the township's role and usage of the facility, and it would be available for private rentals, group activities such as indoor pickleball, birthday parties, and so forth. And you have a synopsis of what they would like to include in the building, and that's 6 basketball courts, 2 high school size courts, 4 middle school size courts, concession, cafe area, party room, small conference room and office, and approximately 325 by 400 square foot building. The Fox Chapel Winter League has existed since 1981, and they provide community recreational basketball to 600 youth and 200 adults in the Fox Chapel area school district.
And if I understand the proposal correctly, this would be run by the township
Yes, because it's gonna be on our community, it's gonna be on our park.
and owned by the township?
It will have to be, yes.
Okay.
What budget are we talking about?
I mean, it would be, I would say similar to that is like the Live Like Lou Field project that we did. You know, that was paid for by those outside groups, but it's our property. And we have that obligation for continued operation and maintenance of that facility,
So
because it's ours.
I think to John's point, as far as construction goes, the township wouldn't be putting anything towards construction.
Well, that's what the proposal is. They, in order for them to begin their fundraising, they would need to have the approval of the concept of us putting that
Concept,
there.
yeah, okay.
And it is consistent with the parks plan and why I wanted to have it reviewed by the Parks Board to make sure there were no objections to that being done before it was brought to you all. But it was being brought to you tonight because their fundraising runs from January through mid-March. And if we waited for the February meeting, they'd be losing 6 weeks of fundraising ability towards their goal.
And then once it's built, then the responsibility of maintenance comes,
It will be our responsibility,
okay. Utilities, the whole bit, right?
yes, just like the Brozick Center.
But we'll get.
That's
rent-
another example.
But we'll also get the rental income out of it, correct?
We will have, and just as these facilities are geared, any fees will be to cover those costs, the operation and maintenance costs.
And so basically, Luke, if I understand this correctly, the Fox Chapel Winter League basketball is gonna be building it. We'll maintain it going forward, and all that you're asking for is that you guys get first right of
Yeah,
access.
right of space, yeah, during our season.
Yep.
Which is, what's the season?
Yeah, our season runs from December to
You wanna come up to the,
Yep.
please?
Name and address, please.
Luke Raymond, 420 Black Walnut Lane.
Thank you.
Yes, but our season runs from December through March. Yeah, and so, I think Dan covered it, but 788 youth players this year.
Wow,
Proud of those numbers?
that's an increase.
That's an increase, yes.
Good.
But the whole reasoning why I brought this to the Parks and Rec Board is we're getting squeezed on space. We're losing a gym that houses over 200 games during our season. And then more and more space is getting pushed out that we rent from Fox Shop.
Which one you losing, Shadyside Middle School?
Chase Middle School. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a fundraising target? Like, what are we talking budget-wise on this thing?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't spend money yet to even get there, right? Until we know that you all are in support. I mean, I've gotten numerous ranges.
Okay.
They didn't give me a good number.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's.
How does it integrate with the existing Emerling House building? I mean, is it gonna be?
It would be the
Part of it?
location of it, what's on that, the chain, for that portion, Emerling Park is one piece in the middle, that's the Emerling House. The other pieces were the township acquired separate. That piece with the Emerling House has a deed restriction, that any changes have to be consistent with the 1972 Simmons & Simmons Architects Master Plan of the park. And that master plan of the park calls for a recreation center being where the Emerling House sits, and the parking being the area to the left of that between where the Emerling House sits and the Laurel, the lower access road right below the Laurel Oak Pavilion. That area would be the area to be the parking adjacent to the rec center. And that is consistent with that, exactly
So the
what
house
was
is
called
coming
for.
down then?
And that plan, whenever Emerling's donated it to the
Yeah,
township,
so that house is, okay,
would have to be for it to be done. If they reach their goal, it wouldn't be being done unless that,
That's why the historical commission. Okay. I was just wondering why the historical commission wasn't also in on it, but that's because the house would have to come down. They wouldn't be refurbishing or
Right.
improving the house. It would
And-
just be a tear down.
and that was one of the reasons why, if you remember, whenever I tried to get the historical commission and Parks Board meetings to be the same night, in an effort to have the two of them talk about those issues, and that really, it's been a struggle to even have a meeting with a quorum for the year, you know, so.
Okay, are there any more questions for Mr. Raymond?
I do have a vacancy on the historical commission too, by the way.
Okay.
What
I have
district?
Mr. Masur.
I've got a comment.
is that district specific, she was asking?
Yeah, I think it's Indian, I'd have to look, but I believe it's Indian.
All right, let us know on that, Dan. Supervisor Khan has a comment.
I just think that this is a win-win for us. It provides us with a recreation center for the use of our citizens. And just like the baseball field, it literally costs us nothing because we already own the land. And we're constantly looking for improvements to our parks so that our residents can enjoy their various activities. It's gonna save money in the long run for the ball league because they're not gonna have to rent facilities from schools, et cetera. So I see no reason that we shouldn't approve the concept. And then, once the fundraising is done, we can talk dollars and cents.
Yeah.
What does approving the concept mean? Just the general idea of like go out and find more information, we're on board?
As far as I understand it, it means that we're approving the fact that they would build a recreation center once they have the funds to do so. And I see no reason why we should say they shouldn't, because it just basically, we've been saying all along, we wanna do what we can
Yeah,
to improve the parks for our citizens.
yeah, I agree. You
Just-
were able to see the, master plan for the parks
I
here
was.
with Holly?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I did see it.
And just like you do with the other plans, at the end of the day, the plans that they're doing to build whatever's gonna get approved and.
Right.
We'd all have to go through
circulated
Right.
and
Ultimately,
We'll see all that.
ultimately, we're gonna see Luke again.
Right.
come
Yeah,
to
you're-
us.
you're just
Saying,
basically-
hey, we got the money, and here's what we have, and here's what
Right.
we're thinking, and
Yeah.
here's the design, and then what do you?
I hope that
Standard
it
stuff.
comes before you multiple times, because it'll be, that'll mean they're progressing,
Right.
achieving their goal.
So I'm assuming that you're not planning on getting all the money over the next 3 months?
No.
It's gonna be a
I mean, that would be nice.
Do you figure a multi-year
I
fundraising effort?
Yeah, it would probably be a multi-year. I mean, I'm ambitious, but I would like to get it done in a year. But we'd plan on launching a fundraising campaign right away. I'm meeting with architects. They try to get a good number to raise, so.
Remind the board of the number of courts in there, or what?
Yeah, 6 courts.
Six courts,
yeah,
six
that's-
full-size.
Yeah, so it's 2 high
regulations.
school and then 4 middle school
Four
courts,
middle
and that would accommodate us very well, and also rentals for the township.
Yeah.
Our area is in desperate need of gym space, as all of the gym space is rented around our area and throughout Pittsburgh. And if, like, there's AAU basketball's growing.
And we
in
have
Western PA.
one small court here, it's not
Yeah, I mean,
full-size.
we can't even.
Is that
we
high
don't
school?
even-
I was gonna ask, cause I don't know basketball.
This
So is
isn't
that
high, isn't high school.
That's like a
No,
middle school size?
No, it's not.
It's not anything size?
No, it's third grade through 12th grade through college, whatever AAU wants to be,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
will be, yes. It goes that low and that high.
yeah.
Okay. But so people up until the high school level would be able to recreate on these courts. There is not a larger court out there, or does it continue to get larger with people growing like college?
Yeah, there is college-sized courts, I mean, there's
That
no
would- yeah.
reason for
that here?
For that.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Fox Chapel Winter League has men's league in there as well.
We
They
play
would
high
play
school.
there, yeah.
We play
so-
high school-sized
But they
sports.
play in a high school gym.
And it would be a real asset for the summer camp when we have the rain days.
You've got
Yeah.
8 months of availability for the
Instead of
public.
moving them up here, they'd actually have great space right there adjacent to,
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to bust them.
yeah.
So are the pickleball courts separate, or are they like lines drawn on
Lines.
the basket?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying.
Yeah, that's what I'm envisioning, these lines drawn.
Alright.
Yep.
No, I love the concept, I'm in full support of it. And just a question on process though. At some point, we're gonna have to get your legal counsel and our legal counsel together to iron out what this partnership would be.
Yeah, I agree.
In your fundraising, are you gonna also be including in their funds for that the legal cost of it as well?
In terms of, like, what legal costs are you referring to? Like, in terms of,
I
like.
think, I
our-
think he's,
Coming up
I think,
with-
I think he's in general referring to professional fees, your architects,
Oh,
your
yes,
lawyers, different
yes.
things, you have to fundraise for that too. I
Yes.
guess is-
Okay,
is the
perfect.
concept. And I think to your point, Mr. Jurgensen, this is just, I think he needs to know, hey, look, is this something that you're on board with? 'Cause we can't even start it. If your consensus was,
Right.
we don't want this, then this all ends.
Right.
If it's moving forward, there's a lot of details in terms of, it's a property, you have to have agreements, and there's all kinds of things that have to happen. None of that's happening tonight, it's.
Yeah, and when they'd all come before you, anything.
Okay. Sure, okay.
And I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the concept for a recreation center in Milling Park.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Khan, we have a second by Supervisor Newman. Is there any other discussion? Oh, we have a question, and I'd like you to come up.
Yeah.
Come up, name, address, please.
Thank you.
You bet.
Albert Cohen, 206 Indiana Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know this is preliminary, very early on, I did not even hear about this, but I love the concept, I think it's great. I'm a little bit of a history buff, but I just want to get clarification, Dan, would it be a tear down of the Emmerling house?
For us to be able to put the recreation center as is shown on that Simmons Architects master plan, it would have to be, that's the location that they show it as.
Okay. Is there any consensus because of the historical value of the house? I know the Historical Society is
Well, I'd
probably,
say
hold on
the-
a minute. I think we should try to hold on to our past a little bit with the house if we can somewhat possibly see if there's any possibility of saving it or moving it, if there is any interest in it. I think that has a lot of historical value for the township, is what I'm asking.
Over the past few years, the Historical Commission has expressed interest in possibly even using it as like a co-working space. I know one of the members had a whole bunch of audio-visual equipment where people who work remotely, hold in-person meetings and things like that. So I know that there has been some interest. And I've spoken to some of the Historical Commission folks fairly recently who are still interested, if there was the ability and the flexibility to pursue that. So I know that there is folks that are wanting to look at that.
And as we just said, there's a lot more to go.
Totally,
We are
totally
very
agree.
preliminary.
Yeah, totally
There'll
agree.
be more meetings and more opportunity to have that type of
Yeah,
discussion as well.
and I'd like to be involved with this sort of
Absolutely.
stuff as
Well,
well.
you're here,
So,
Well,
I mean,
I'm a history buff too. I mean, I'd like to know more about it. That's why this is kind of a preliminary.
exactly,
thing.
I
Like,
totally
it's
get it,
first
yeah, I
instance.
totally understand preliminary, I'd like to
I
say,
think for me, my bigger concern is that if you're not gonna do something with an older building like that and it is falling apart, then better to do something with this space. But, I wish I could say I knew more about Indiana Township history and the Emmerlings and what the importance of that spot is, but it's not on a register of historic places, is
No,
it?
no, and I would want to point out that initially, whenever they approached me, was to put this building where municipal field is, and that municipal field is so ideal, it's a level spot. And I've recalled from my discussions when we did the wetlands project and we had that, had to do the wetlands pond that encroached on that parcel. And that was the issue, was it had to be consistent with that master plan, which showed wetlands there, not wetlands, but showed the pond there, which was consistent, needed to be consistent with that plan. That deed restriction was there because when the Emmerlings donated it to township, they wanted any changes to be consistent with that plan, which called for that exactly, for that house to be replaced with a rec center. The township since 1972 hasn't done that. But it was only because I was aware of that I said, well, rather than look at the municipal field, why don't you look at this site? Because I know that that's consistent with our long-range plan. Now, our more recent parks plan even references that fact that that portion has to be consistent with that prior plan from 1972. So even if you couldn't have a more recent parks master plan that deviated from that because that deed restriction is there. that
Okay,
says
so
it
no
has to be.
matter, so no
And
matter
that's the
what, it
historical
has to
information.
defer to the 1972 plan.
Now, when it comes to maybe saving that house or that being relocated, those are all possibilities, and that would be separate from what their efforts are. And we could always look at that, you know, whether there could be another location that would be on township property, or whether or not we'd wanna, however that would like to do. I can tell you the property hasn't had gas or water to it for a couple decades. It's in such a state of disrepair for someone to use it, as you talked about. We would be talking significant costs to be able to try to make that usable. You know,
And so just so I'm understanding, the building site has to be what is recorded on the 1972 plan?
not the building site, the changes to that parcel have to be consistent with that master plan from 1972.
And
So
we're losing sight
And I have a
what we're trying
copy
to
of
do
that
here.
master plan, it's actually a big framed,
I understand, that's why I said
You
preliminary.
got it.
Thank you for your time.
Good
Thank you. I
discussion.
appreciate it, thank you.
Very
for your time.
preliminary, thank you. We have a motion from Supervisor Khan, we have a second from Supervisor Jorgensen. I appreciate all the dialogue, is there any others? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Good luck, Luke.
Yeah, good luck, happy fundraising.
On the streets.
The next item is the possible consideration of the findings of fact and conclusions of law for the tentative approval of the Frederick Farms Planned Residential Development filed by Miranda Homes.
Make a motion that we approve the finding of fact as written.
Can we get a second?
I'll give it a second.
Okay, all right, and we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, a second by Supervisor Khan. Is there any further discussion?
Just because this would give the approval for tentative approval for the
Yeah.
Frederick Farms.
Right, that would follow.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And I'm gonna make a motion for tentative approval of the Frederick Farms Planned Residential Development filed by Rhonda.
That was it.
It's baked in.
That
You
was
just
it.
did.
Yep.
Was it in?
Yeah, it was in. You're good. You're
What was
good.
that? Okay.
It's the findings of fact, conclusion, law, the decision is all wrapped in one.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
item D.
The last item there is the possible approval of the joint comprehensive plan proposal by Paschik MRT. I gave you a review of the comprehensive proposals. We did have 3 that responded, 5 companies were requested to respond. You see, Paschik has the most number of recent projects within Allegheny County. And that would be Brentwood, Hampton, Marshall, McCandless, and including joint plans done by O'Hara and Fox Chapel, as well as Harrison, Brackenridge, and Trent. They're also a consultant for Allegheny County's 2025 comp plan, and so they can ensure the municipal plans within the county are aligned with the county's plan. Just overall, there's a number, so many reasons, and Westier and I reviewed these together. We're both making the same recommendation to our boards. Westier had just recently approved it. They did have a lot of discussion because Paschik was much higher. Because if you remember the resolution that you all approved for us requesting the grant funding, we do expect at least 50% grant funding of which would be of that 124. And of that balance, that would be split equally between us and West Ear. So with that, I think that we would get the best new comprehensive plan complete redo of it by doing this with Passion. So it asks for your approval, Passion, for the joint comprehensive plan.
So financially, it would be about $30,000, worst, best
30,
case, 30,000.
Right, which is what we anticipated.
Worst case would be 60,000.
Right.
Okay. And in the budget, you put,
We anticipate, I will say, I think it was 60.
so we
Yeah,
anticipate
well,
worst case.
we'd be okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
either way. But I'm very certain about, because we're doing it jointly, that really helps you with that funding.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, we'll be successful with that.
And did they give a time frame? Could they start this?
Pashik did, that's in their proposal. And they were the only one who gave
Well,
that
they're ready
detailed,
to rock and roll this year.
yeah, they gave that detailed comprehensive
Yeah.
response outlining that exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I think they would be,
You can see the cost difference in their materials and their preparation.
Yeah.
And it's a staggering difference.
it is, it was hard for me, looking at that, well,
Yes.
but if you look at the other proposal that was so much less, I really feel that what would come out of that is just updating our current one. And I don't want it to be that. I think it's important that if we're gonna take this step, which has been 14 years since the last one, let's do it.
Well, they can leverage their research that they did for Hampton, Fox Chapel,
Yes.
O'Hara, and then if we include West Deer, who's with us, I mean, it's almost, just about everybody on our border is involved.
So if we pass this evening and this moves forward, and you said West Deer has already voted and
They just
agreed
did.
on Passion, does this then, I guess, because of the timeline, put us in that beginning part of steering committee and
That'll all
pop-up
become,
events and all of those things?
this is the first step, but that'll all be coming in
Comes.
rapid fashion because
Yeah.
we'll be having them administering it all.
Looks like it's gonna be happening over the summer, really. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to, both bodies are gonna be involved with that, and I wouldn't be surprised for us to have a need for a joint meeting at some time.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll have to do two of them, one over at West Deer's new building and to get them over here,
Okay, well,
Sure.
any more questions, or what's the board's pleasure?
So we're looking,
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal, or the joint comprehensive plan proposal by Pashik MRT.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Khan, a second by Supervisor Jorgensen. Is there any other further discussion?
I just wanted to say, just for the group, we're looking at about an 18-month
Yeah.
implementation from beginning to adoption. So it's not gonna be a quick turnaround, but there's a very defined process for it.
But the other comment is that I reviewed all the proposals, and the one by Pashik was far head and shoulders above any of the other proposals as far as cost and how they're breaking it down. And they're obviously extremely professional and have done these kind of things in all the surrounding townships. So I think it would be advantageous to go with them as they have the local knowledge.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Khan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. One thing that I'd like to bring up, Dan, I'd like you to consider drafting a resolution for us. We have the Robert's Rules, the rules of procedure for these board meetings. I've been around a long time, we do great meetings, we communicate effectively, but I'd really like for this year to institute or consider a resolution being drafted that really outlines how we conduct business in this room. I'd also like to include that for these rules to be at the podium as well, so it's front and center for anybody that does address the board. I'd like that for consideration. I don't know if that requires a motion for the manager to do that. Irv, would you like to make a comment on that? give us some guidance?
So you're asking for an update to the procedures of the Board of Supervisors?
Yes.
So I think you need to, I think you would wanna,
Make a motion?
make a motion to add it to the agenda for next meeting.
You can't make a motion.
Yeah, it would be for- no, it would
Absolutely,
be-
yeah,
it would be-
this would be looked at in
It would
February.
be a motion to add to the agenda for February, potential authorization of the manager and solicitor to work together to prepare a new set of rules for the operation of meetings before the Board of Supervisors.
Fair.
Sorry, in the meantime, cause one of the things that was missing on this agenda, and I don't know if this was reorganization, is also having the second citizens comment, one for agenda items and then one for non-agenda items. In the meantime, before we sort out what Darren is proposing, we continue to offer that, including today and next month.
Yeah, well, but it's actually in our rules of procedure anyways. These non-agenda items are really up to the Board of Supervisor as time permits. So, for us, when we added that last year, I think why we added that, I can't recall, but we can consider that. But,
So that's something that also needs to be voted upon, that wouldn't be necessarily added in this meeting or next meeting.
the resolution would be to add the changes to the February agenda.
I think we've got the one motion right now to put on the agenda for next week, the discussion regarding these operating procedures. That's separate, I think, from what Ms. Hart was asking about one particular item that I think, if I wanna, if that's something that you wanna put into the rules and procedures, certainly can discuss that at the February meeting. If in the meantime, we wanna talk about what needs to happen at this meeting, the next meeting, that's a separate thing.
Right. So at this meeting, again, to confirm, we just need a motion to go ahead and add this item, this consider of a draft resolution to the February agenda for discussion. That it?
Someone's gotta make that motion, secondly vote, I
Yeah,
guess.
absolutely. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen. I'll second.
I'll second.
Supervisor Khan second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
One more quick question before we're going about February. Dan, are we gonna have the vote on the PRD rewrite public hearing on February? Because some people have been asking about that.
I would expect us to be, I haven't had any comments from anybody, but I understand with the holidays.
Yeah,
So if any of you have any, please get them to me. I did have one brought up, I expect to have shortly, so that way those could be addressed, so that it's determined in February whether or not it's being advertised for public hearing, or those changes necessitated going back to the planning commission for their,
but it'll be an item in
Yes.
February to talk about.
yes,
Okay, cool.
If you're gonna make the motion to potentially authorize the advertisement.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So to address my separate item, now that we have voted upon that, since it has been our standard operating procedure for at least the past year, for this meeting and next meeting, are we able to have citizens forum for non-agenda items? Since that is how we've operated historically?
I mean, we have that. It's in the rules of procedure now. I don't think it needs to be on the agenda itself, but we can discuss it. It's in the rules as,
She's asking for tonight.
Well, I think you have to do it one way or the other, right? You
Yeah.
can certainly, again, in the last 2 years, right? You can have public comment before all the items for items on the agenda and off. Okay, and that, you can also limit that to items on the agenda, because the idea is people need to comment before you have a vote. So if you're gonna separate them, then you have to let people speak at the end of the meeting, right, to give that opportunity. Tonight, you said for items on the agenda, when, so you should let people, so now would be the time to let people speak about items.
Or just
on
have
the
citizens forum.
agenda Right now.
Right.
Well,
Or-
correct, but
right.
it's
But you can do
not-
it either way.
Yeah, but
You're
it's not
absolutely
on
fine.
our agenda, so I'm just saying, does there need to be a procedure in place to continue that at this meeting and for the next meeting until we vote upon exactly what that looks like, or?
Since we've been doing it, I think we need to give folks an opportunity to speak, because we specifically said the first part was agenda items. So from now on, we can just say citizens forums for both.
agenda and
But
non-agenda.
right now, tonight, tonight's meeting. It was said that the first citizens forum was for agenda items, so I think you should have one for non-agenda items, so if there's anybody here
Oh,
that
yeah,
wants to
no
speak, they
problem
have
with
the
that.
opportunity.
Anybody like to address the board? Yeah, come on up first. Name and address, please.
Chris Crown, 3606 Windsor.
Thank you.
This is really just to sort of get the board's pulse. So on the PRD update, there's something that wasn't really discussed in the planning commission, but I know it came up to the board in the past, and that was in Richmond Estates, the developer charged the HOA to purchase, or forced the HOA to purchase the land for the retention ponds. And essentially the HOA now has a mortgage. My understanding, the HOA is now settled with a mortgage for that.
The high interest rate too.
I was just bringing up, just pointing out that we, at the time, a lot of people said that didn't seem fair. And with this PRD update, this would be a potential time to add a clause in there that said, the common open space provided by the developer, as required by the new PRD, would be transferred to the HOA, free and unencumbered by a mortgage. Is that something the board would want to think about? And if so, I can write something up in front of Mr. Anderson, in my comments, if there's legal issues with that,
Yeah,
Mr. Earth.
I gotta tell you, I've not seen that in any, that I've seen. I do think there's probably some there's probably some issues in terms of the townships regulating individual contracts between citizens.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I don't think you, I can look into that. I don't think you can do that, because either way, and then just big picture, if they're not picking up that cost through, put it to the HOA, they're just gonna pick up the individual sale prices of the owners, right? It's just- But again, I don't think you can regulate contract issues, as a township, but I certainly can report back if there's something different that or is interested in understanding the legalities of that before you make a decision.
Okay, thank you.
So I will do that, but it's just my initial sense.
Yeah, I agree with you in spirit, but like Herb's saying, that's a contract between third parties vis-a-vis us. I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. I mean, for the same things that you're saying.
I don't
it's-
think you can, but I'll confirm that.
Yeah, it's not, the township is not imposing a rule directly on the developer. You're imposing it on an agreement between two other groups. I was confused by that, that's why I wanted to.
Yeah, if I understand you right, your concern is, you would, if allowed, you would want a rule that would prevent a developer from selling property to the HOA separately.
Correct, yes, my understanding, and, sorry, if you can, if my understanding is incorrect. In Richmond, the developer essentially took out a mortgage for the retention pond areas and then transferred that mortgage to the HOA.
To
upon
pay the
inception.
fees for our township, the 16,000 per retention basin, and they also own their own mortgage company, so they are basically just paying themselves with.
Yeah, that's a
interest.
whole nother level.
Yeah, yeah,
I
right.
know he also did, do a subdivision to change the lot lines for that detention facility, giving some of that property that was meant to be in a detention facility to that abutting property owner.
And that has not gone through.
Yeah,
I believe he decided to not do that.
But is it
he
a-
did bring it before us for approval, and it was approved for that, so.
But is it a PRD specific issue? So I mean, like, we have like Hidden Falls, that's not a PRD, they have an HOA. I don't think there
Yeah.
was any, I've heard nothing of
You're correct, yeah, I
a
guess maybe that should
similar
be in the-
sort of
yeah.
scheme, but I mean, like, it might be something that's just broader than PRDs, so it might not be in this particular rewrite.
It may be in the Saldo instead.
Saldo or zoning code, I don't know, like, we'll let her
You have to look into it. to
take a
be
quick look at it, but
Yeah.
there could be other situations beyond PRDs.
You're correct, I did not think about that. When I was going through the PRD proposed, revised PRD, and the section there saying this open space will now be transferred to.
It would be much more common in PRD because you need that open space more than just saying it might be broader.
Yeah, Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Chris. Okay. Would anybody else like to address the board this evening? address, please.
Minnie Owens, Township citizen. I don't know if you recall, but it was stated before that an address doesn't have to be stated.
I do
It's not
understand that.
Pertinent, but you didn't inform any of the people here that they didn't have to state their address. You said name and address. So just a reminder, you don't have to state your address. If you do not wish to, you can simply confirm that you're a citizen here. Just out of curiosity, the Historic Commission you said has a possible opening in possibly District 2?
We'll look at what district it is, but
You said
we just had
Indiana.
we had a resignation from a longtime member of the Historical Commission, and he lives in the Indianola district, so I believe it's the Indianola district.
Are there any other openings? Last year, we had an issue where people were reappointed and
No,
then.
don't have an opening other than that at this time.
And how would you notify people if there's an opening?
How do I notify people? This just occurred, so I'll notify people. But
By-
at the same time, I'm seeking applicants myself, as I do all the time. And I'm not flooded with people interested in these positions. So usually, I seek them out.
If you'll recall,
Okay,
last
so
year, this
if
was,
you do have anybody who you think would be an asset to the Historical Commission, please let me know.
there was a request last year that you do more to notify people, either posting it on the website or other means to let people know that there are openings so that they could actively
And we did
participate in that.
We did that. I posted on the website, that is right on the top, ask people if you're interested, and tells them how to do it.
Right, but to notify that there is an opening. That was the request last year by a lot of people.
Yes,
who came in.
there's the opening, and I did bring it up too.
And be noted too, that our request, if you know of anyone who's interested, let us know in
Right.
advance. And nobody has done that.
So the challenge here is you're saying here that there's an opening, but these minutes won't be published until March.
Right, and I've
And so
already
the-
asked a couple of candidates, and I continue to do so. I may have somebody before February's meeting. You never know.
A reminder that we have 9 people attending virtually. There are 9 people attending here in person. Today was a pretty difficult travel day. Schools were closed. There are a lot of people who would have really wanted to participate if they could have come in here in person, but they might not have been
You
able
got
to
1
get
minute,
out of
so
bed.
1 minute.
Driveway. And you had, as I've said before, 99% of the people who were asked would like virtual meetings. There hasn't been the same kind of excitement, although I think it's a great idea to have the recreational center, but you guys seem very excited about that when people have verbally asked for virtual meetings and you continue to ignore their requests.
I still want the virtual meetings.
Thank you for your comment.
We don't have the votes.
And I'll just correct that, we have not ignored it. We have dealt with it, and we said no. So we have not ignored it. We've dealt with it.
Would anybody else like to address the board this evening? Yes, please. Name and address, please.
Carol Banks, 3697 Saxonburg.
Thank
I
you.
just wonder if you don't have to give your address, how do you ever prove that you're a township if I just come up here and say I'm a township resident?
Thank you, we'll take you, people with
Yeah.
their representation.
We do appreciate those that do share.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to know that you are actually a township
I
resident.
agree. Thank you, Carol. Would anybody else like to address the board this evening? If not, maybe I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Supervisor Khan, a second from Supervisor Jorgensen. Is there any discussion on the matter? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Drive safely.
What do you think of that? We were almost there.
Yeah, when you hit yourself.
Okay, I signed Thursday. Back there, and we have everybody's signature.